On Friday, Attorney General Merrick Garland announced that he had appointed David Weiss as special counsel to investigate the president's son, Hunter Biden. On that same day, prosecutors in Delaware, which were led by Weiss, announced that a plea deal for Hunter Biden, the son of the president, was effectively off, which, taken together, seems like a pretty big deal. I have a few thoughts on Hunter in the wake of this news. They're below, and in no other order than the way that they came to me. Let's get to them. Number one, this is bad news for Hunter Biden. A month ago, the expectation was that Hunter would accept a plea deal in a Delaware court on tax and gun charges, which, legally speaking, would have ended the investigation into him. That's no longer operative, or close to it. As the Associated Press noted recently, and I'm quoting here, the announcement of a special counsel is a significant development from the typically cautious Garland and provides Weiss with independence, authority, and budget to pursue the investigation. It's also important to note here that Weiss, who had been investigating Hunter Biden in Delaware for quite some time, asked to be named special counsel, a request that Merrick Garland did grant, which raises the question of why? Is it solely because, as the Associated Press report suggests, Weiss thought that the charges would be better brought against Biden in California or Washington, D.C., and without the special counsel badge, he would be unable to do so? Or, and this is more troubling for Hunter Biden, is the special counsel appointment rightly understood as a deepening and widening of the investigation into the president's son? Is it possible that charges beyond the ones we've previously known about will crop up or have already cropped up? We don't know the answer to that question just yet. But what we do know is that a special counsel investigation keeps Hunter Biden in the news for the foreseeable future and exposed, legally speaking. Number two, Hunter Biden does not equal Donald Trump. So there's a tendency in the lowest common denominator political world in which we all now live to reduce everything to a series of unflattering comparisons. Oh, my guy's bad, what about your guy? Like, now the Bidens and the Trumps are under federal investigation by a special counsel, so it's basically the same thing, except it's not at all. For starters, there is zero evidence that Joe Biden is under investigation or has committed any illegal acts. Donald Trump, on the other hand, is the subject of 4 indictments. 4, including 2 federal indictments, one for his retention of classified documents after leaving the presidency, and one for trying to overturn the results of the 2020 election. Even if you compare Hunter Biden's charges, those of Trump's, it's not even close to the same. Hunter was expected in the plea deal to say he committed 2 tax misdemeanors. What Trump is being charged with is far more sweeping and concerning from both a national security and, democracy perspective. Equating the 2 situations then is dumb and lazy, 2 things you do not want to be. Number 3, Hunter Biden tried to trade on his dad's name. So this might be a controversial take to some, but it really honestly shouldn't be. Devin Archer, a former business associate of Hunter's, testified before the House recently that Joe Biden got on the phone with Hunter's business associates at least 20 times. Those phone conversations, according to Archer, dealt with nothing, again, hear me, nothing of substance. In other words, Joe Biden was just sort of on the phone. He wasn't making promises or talking about administration policy, nothing of the sort. Which doesn't let Hunter Biden off the hook, though. He was clearly trying to impress his business clients with who his dad was and is. No question about it. This exchange between Democratic New York Congressman Dan Goldman and Archer, as reported by CBS News, is instructive on that front. Here's the back and forth. Asked by Dan Goldman of New York, in other words, Hunter Biden would take credit for his father's actions, even though he had no role or influence in those actions? Archer replied, he would take credit for them. Goldman asked, so is it fair to say that Hunter Biden was selling the illusion of access to his father? Yes, Archer replied. Like I said, it's not a great look. Number 4, Hunter Biden isn't losing this election for Joe Biden. So the people who care most deeply about Hunter Biden are members of the Republican base who, let's be honest, weren't going to vote for Joe Biden even if he never had a son named Hunter. That just wasn't going to happen. For the rest of the public, Hunter Biden and his travails just aren't that much of an issue. They're not paying that much attention. In a Reuters Ipsos poll conducted earlier this summer, 51% of respondents agreed that Hunter Biden's problems are entirely separate from and unrelated to his father's presidency. Just 33% disagreed with that idea. A new New York Times piece nicely gets at that reality. Here's the key point. Let me quote from it. In interviews, more than a dozen Democratic officials, operatives, and pollsters said Hunter Biden's legal problems were less worrisome than their other concerns about the president: his age, his low approval ratings, and Americans' lack of confidence in an improving economy. To which I say I totally agree. To my mind, the 2024 presidential election is a toss-up between Biden and Trump. But that's because of ongoing concerns about Biden's age, a lack of enthusiasm for him in the Democratic base, and the persistent belief, contra the data, that the economy is still faring poorly. None of that has anything to do with Hunter Biden. So what? The fight over Hunter Biden has honestly just begun. But don't overestimate what it means for the 2024 race. It means, at least at this point, very little.